look at this scenario, if you will. If a political party says, Party A says, well, we have only one process of nominating our candidates, the primaries. So if you submit yourself without clearance before you eventually go for the party primaries, party primaries, yes, you're done. But if Party B says we've got two processes, you have to go through the first stage, then the second stage. If they appeal against you and you lose out, you're out. And then that's your practice. And
no, it's Chambers. I think virtually all the political parties in their constitutions have two processes, because that's what the Electoral Act provides. Processes of selecting candidates, either direct or indirect. What we are saying is that even if it's going to be consensus, is democratic if it is consensus. But then any consensus that is followed by, aggrievement on the part of people who are supposed to have made the consensus, you understand, is not consensus.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that it is very, very critical for not only the PDP, but in this case the PDP, because it's the PDP that is clearly out there under the sun. It is essential that they must allow members of their political parties all the necessary machineries that the constitution of the party has put in place in bringing out candidates for any election. No manipulation through the use of either the state offices of the party, the national headquarters of the party, or the local government of the party, headquarters of the party. If they do that, they are going to send a more serious signals, other political parties in this country. And I find it difficult to really understand what's so difficult. What is really difficult in making people who are already in position of authority respect the wishes and aspirations of the people?
With respect to the direct primaries, which was a question I put for previously, Section 87.3 of the Electoral Act says, a political party that adopts the direct primaries procedure shall ensure that all aspirants are given equal opportunity of being voted for by members of the party. Yes, granted.
Yeah.
But if they say, in giving you that process, we've got two stages. We've seen the direct and indirect, but going with this direct primaries, we've got two steps.
Yeah.
I mean, such that, you have some say, well, I've got provisional clearance. Other parties don't talk about provisional clearance. We don't know if they do, but in this case, it happens. If other parties, if it doesn't happen in other parties, can we then say that there's a problem with this method as opposed to this method where you just got once?
Well, you see, it's a matter of procedure. As a political party, of course, the Constitution has made it abundantly clear that it's only a political party that can forward candidates on any election. So it is a responsibility of the political party to decide which candidates. Yeah. But in deciding which candidates, it is expected that the political party will be free and fair in its dealings. It's not about Chamberlain was there, I don't like him, and as such I create all obstacles on your way if you're seeking for nomination again. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not about, it's about being objectively fair, squarely democratic. Because democracy itself is all about fairness, it's all about justice. Okay? People are given the opportunity to select and elect their representatives at various levels of authority.
That's why. That's why some people are a little bit confused, and they ask this question: why is it that political parties can't really try to democratize their internal system? In any case, is there any party as a party with no members? Do we have parties with no members?
How can you have a political party without members? Political parties normally start as associations, and associations normally is a group of people with similar interests and similar objectives. That's all about. So there can be no political party without people. There can be no political party without members.
So there must be democracy in that part.
There must be, and that is the problem. And I'm saying we will never get it right in this country as long as our political parties don't do what is right.
When you talk about democracy in the parties, is it about everyone coming out to vote for? Would that be described as democracy? If you take, for instance, what we saw at the PDP presidential primaries, is that that very symbolic act? Is that democracy we're talking about?
Symbolic act. You see, like we're discussing here for quite some time now. The issue is that the relevant laws in the land, this time around the Constitution and the Electoral Act and the Constitution of the political parties, make ample provisions on how to ensure that members of the parties are not excluded in the process of selecting candidates or electing candidates.
Because we had a guest here some time back, and he said that we were talking about the Bayelsa instance, and he said that they could still have allowed the incumbent governor go through the primaries. I mean, if they would not reveal the reasons why he was being excluded, he could still have allowed him, but still excluded him somehow. I mean, it was going to be clear that he would still have been prevented from running.
Yeah, but you
by helping him lose, by making him lose the primaries.
No, not necessarily making him lose the primaries. In this case, he was not even an aspirant. The political party, if it feels strongly that he wasn't fit to be a candidate, could screen him and let him go for the primaries and then ensure that he does not win. And even at the end of the day, we are not likely going to see the Rotimi Amechi case again in the Nigerian legal system. A situation where we don't stand for an election and at the end of the day you become the beneficiary of that. Even within the highest level of Nigerian judiciary, that has become an issue of major contention. It has become an issue of major contention. Okay. So if the Electoral Act has specified clearly that it is the political party that forward candidates to INEC. So he could go contest, and then at the end of the day the political party will say, look, sorry, we're not prepared to field you as our candidate for the following reasons. I think why Nigerians are talking is because the PDP has not presented any sufficient reason to tell us why that this young man cannot go for a second term. That's simple. And democracy means openness. You have to talk to us. I mean, I'm not from Bayelsa State, I don't know whether any one of you is, but we desire to know because we want to see.
Are people surprised at the lack of reasons, for instance?
I think that's basically what is pushing a lot of sympathies on the side of the governor, because if you commit an offense, every elected political official should be under the banner of a political
comments
party.
On this in addition to that, it's a question from a viewer. He says that's a Jofo. Could he be the scourge of nepotism and deficit lack of political ideologies fueled by elitist greed?
Well, this could be. I want to think so. I want to think so. If basically you're not interested, you see, it's simple. It's plain. A lot of my friends did tell me that each time they travel out of this country on, parliamentary union and so on and so forth, and people ask them, why is it that it's difficult for you in Nigeria to do election? Simply to elect between 2 or 3 different candidates? It's difficult, it's impossible.
In the case of consensus candidates, would you still support a vote just to prove that this was actually a consensus candidate?
No, not precisely. It's not necessary that when you have consensus. I mean, you see, democracy is attitude. We have to prepare our minds that we are ready to do it the way it is supposed to be, not just to do it anyhow. So consensus could be there, and once you have consensus, the Nigerian constitution or electoral law does not make any provision to say if you have a consensus, the delegates should still go ahead and cast their vote.
This is referring to the AC and presidential primaries. Right. They had actually prepared for a vote. The ballot box was there and everything, but they said no, we're not going to go ahead with this vote because we have a consensus candidate.
Yeah, if the PDP had a consensus, it would have also been the same thing. You understand? Because the law does not make it compulsory or mandatory on the political party to cast votes to ensure that the candidate scores a certain percentage before the consensus could become acceptable.